Champ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm literally sitting here. I've been binge watching Hell's Kitchen on YouTube because the Kitchen Nightmares channel has the playlist for all seasons. I'm currently on season 6, episode 3, where the dude Joseph just goes epic nuclear and gets in Gordon Ramsay's face, and it's just hilarious. But other than that, I'm doing good. Great week, great couple weeks for DC sports, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's one of the best weeks or early weeks I can remember. Like usually one of the teams is kind of off to a bad start. Oh, I caught that Pokemon. It's a Kamala or Kamala. I don't know. It's like a koala, but even cuter. And that's pretty cool. I hadn't had that one before. But yeah, no, really great week for the Capitals. We just kind of broke that down. Ended up going 4-3 if we include tonight as part of the first 2 weeks, which was great. And then we'll talk about the Wizards in a little bit. I know that Tim and Arun are going to be joining us as well. I know Arun is actually, I think, on the line now. We'll bring him in if he wants to cam up and mic up, and we can talk. And then we've got the Dog of the Month again, which I appreciate. Or is it going to be seasonally, or are you going to do it monthly? Are you gonna what do you think we're going to do this year? Arun, I think we're still muted. Oh, still muted, Arun. All right. I don't know why I think the mic is having some issues, but we'll let Arun figure that out. And it's weird because it's saying like visually that the mic is muted, but I can see you trying to talk.
What he's saying is mic is not working.
Oh, it's not working at all?
Interesting. Yeah, he's having some issues.
All right, well, we'll let him try to figure that out. Well, yeah. I'll talk to Champ first, and Arun maybe like quit all the way back out and come back in. Sometimes that solves it. And we'll get Arun's take in a little bit. So Champ, you and I can break down this really ugly Bears game that I know is the game that you've always wanted to talk about. Best game of your life, right? Most exciting. Thursday Night Football's back, baby. What are your initial takes on
the sarcasm is just oozing out of your pores, Robbie, because you know good and damn well that was the most disappointing win I've ever watched, and I've been a fan of this team since the early 90s. There's Arun.
Arun, I see you. Nice. I have many Aruns in chat of the side, but I see one Arun who got an audio of an Arun, so we're gonna take it. And Arun, what are your thoughts? You gonna change the dog monthly, or is this the season of this dog?
Might be this season of this dog, but
all right.
No
should we? Is it a him or her? What do we think?
I think it's a her.
Okay. Are we gonna name her? Or is she gonna be our mascot of the Arun broadcast? Well, Arun.
I guess.
Archie Doggy. Arun, happy Diwali, first of all. My son was actually teaching me about the holiday during dinner tonight, which I thought was really cool that his teacher was teaching him about that in school. For those who don't know, do you want to quickly explain what it is? I like to teach people about different holidays.
Sure. It's like a national, I guess it's an Indian holiday, and I guess Maryland in some places they have off today. But yeah, it's like basically the festival of lights, and people do fireworks in India and eat lots of desserts, basically.
Nice. That's awesome. Any holiday with lots of desserts and fireworks is right up my alley. So that's awesome. Yeah, he actually made this giant like paper candle thing with flower petals and stuff. That was pretty cool. Yeah, awesome. Well, I hope that you had a great dinner tonight with your family and a nice celebration today. We were talking about the Bears game and how frustrating it was. I'll let Arun take the first crack, and then I'll let Champ give his thoughts on that one. But, Arun, what is your takeaway on this Thursday Night Football game against the Bears?
Yeah, the Bears and the Washington Commanders game, it wasn't that exciting of a game. The Bears actually pulled ahead, I believe, but Justin Fields made an incredible throw, but then Washington got enough from Gibson and Wentz, and they were able to pull out and somehow win the game. But I think I heard Charles Barkley say inside the NBA that was the worst game he's ever seen, and they need to do better than showing those two teams. But I think both teams actually are playing better. Like the Washington's coming off another win, and the Bears are right now beating the Patriots by 9 points.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Carly. The game has gotten a lot worse. I haven't been giving scoring updates. It's 23-14 with 5:18 left in the third quarter. But the Bears have the ball, and it's a 1st and 10. So we'll see if it gets worse or if somehow New England can get a stop here. Because even if they could stop and hold it to a field goal or something, there's an opportunity there, an overthrow on 1st down. Yeah, it's been interesting. This Bears team, it's hard to know who they are. It's hard to know whether this Commanders team defense is making the other team look really bad and silly in moments, or if it's just two terrible teams playing each other. Arun, do you have a sense on, is it a bit of both, or what are your thoughts on after what you could call a defensive effort in that Bears Commanders game, one of the lowest scoring first halves in the history of football?
Well, Wentz was coming off an injury, and Fields looked pretty bad for most of the game. But I think the Bears are motivated against the Patriots. I think Washington was motivated to play the Packers tough. I don't know, or Heineke's was a slight upgrade over whatever version of Wentz that was with the hand/broken finger. So I'm not sure what the Bears defense is pretty good. They're shutting down the Patriots for now, and I think Washington was also kind of, their offensive line was pretty bad in that game, and I think Heineke gives them more escapability than Wentz, and the Packers defense isn't as good as the Bears defense, I guess. So that's also part of, even though they had a pick or a turnover and a touchdown, but the Bears, I think they've been playing pretty badly, and after that embarrassing performance, they want to come out with a pretty good effort in the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting to me, this Commanders team, because they roll out for Heineke in a way that they weren't doing for Wentz, and so it's just really hard to compare that. And they're also running the ball more consistently. Like, they're doing a lot of things we would like to see with Wentz, but they're just not doing it with him. I just don't know. The play calling is very suspect. It's just really hard to kind of compare these two quarterbacks because they're like, the schemes they're putting around them just seem so drastically different. I mean, in theory, it's all part of the same playbook and plans, but they're just not calling the same plays for them. Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this Bears game and how the play calling has just been so different?
Right. So I know Arun on Wiz Talk is the stats guy. For Football Talk, I'm the stats guy. Stat-wise, Chicago should have won this game pretty easily. They had more first downs. They were better on 3rd down. They had more total yards. They had less penalties, and they possessed the ball almost 5 minutes longer than the Commanders did. Wentz threw for 99 bastard yards, 99 yards in a 60-minute football game. How is that possible? And had a 66.3 quarterback rating and still walked away with a win and a broken ring finger.
He also does have a ring. He walked away with the ring with the Eagles.
That's fun. That's also funny, by the way. One of the shining moments of this game, and what was very this is one of those wins I kind of was wishing we lost. Honestly, I just did not feel like a winner as a fan. Brian Robinson. Remember, this kid is coming back from being shot twice in the lower region in a car robbery incident, and came back and scored his first NFL touchdown in this game. Good on the kid to come back from something like that and not only score, but get a touchdown. He had 60 yards rushing, so that was good. I think the other saving grace was the defense. They sacked Justin Fields 5 times. 5 times. And I think that was one of the big differences in the fact that they were able to limp out of Soldier Field with the victory. But this play calling in this game, listen, Scott Turner, I got to give you a message. Here, look, I'm going to whisper a message in your ear. Listen. You're not your dad. You need to be creative, son. You need to be creative with your play calling. You need to be creative with your schemes. You need to do something out of the box, because this simple, you know what, ain't cutting it. It's not cutting it. You only had 86 passing yards. You had 128 rushing yards, even though 60 was from Brian Robinson. That should not be a thing. So this was, it was a win. Yay, woohoo, win. It was a horrible win.
Yeah, it was really bad. One thing that just came across my stat line, because we've got some Toronto fans in chat. I didn't know Phil Kessel played every single game for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Arizona Coyotes, and the last 2 seasons for the Toronto Maple Leafs, meaning his consecutive streak now that he's on the Golden Knights is set at 989. He has an opportunity, if he plays in the next game, to break the Iron Man record for most consecutive games played. And hockey is a crazy brutal sport. Like, and it's one thing to do it in baseball or some of these other sports, but to play in it will be 990 straight games in hockey is just an incredible feat that I hadn't seen until just now. But I just, we're talking about physicality in some of these sports, like that's just an impressive stat. And unfortunately for the Toronto fans in chat, Toronto is down 1-0 to the aforementioned Golden Knights in this game. I just wanted to give a little scoring update and a little update on that, because I was just kind of amazed by that stat. But yeah, the Bears game was really rough to watch. We really shouldn't have won that game. That last play, it was a good defensive effort to knock it out. And so that way he landed just outside of it. But he catches that ball and the game is a different game. It's that close. It's a game. I know it always says it's a game of inches, but literally, he doesn't bobble it. And we're talking about a very different game here. And I'm happy we came away with a victory. But I had to say, after that game, I never felt like the other team lost a game more than us winning a game. It was just hard for me to get excited and be like, we won that game. I just felt like they didn't lose. That was really how I felt. And it's frustrating, I guess, because it's you want to be excited about the win. But I did talk about last week that it was really important that they win that first game, because that was the only way I felt they were going to beat Green Bay, is that they could take some momentum into that second game. I just didn't see us losing to Chicago and then beating Green Bay, which maybe could have happened. I just didn't see it though. What are your thoughts on that, Champ, about momentum from one game into the other?
Momentum is very important in any sport, regardless of the sport. You want to have that momentum. You want to have that wind behind you to move forward to the next. Even though you're coming off an ugly game against the Chicago Bears, you then have to go up against another NFC North team in the Green Bay Packers and a certified Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. I have 2 friends who I mod for on Twitch that are both Green Bay Packers fans, and they both were not happy with this game at all. And I went into this game fully expecting a loss. I had low expectations. I was just not excited. I was like, they're going to come into our house and just beat the crap out of us. And then we turn around and we beat the crap out of them. Even though the score says it was close, we beat the crap out of the Green Bay Packers. Let me tell you. The only thing, though, that was kind of bad, the defense got a lot of pressure on Rodgers, but he never hit the deck. There were no sacks on the defensive side, which is kind of disappointing. Heineke, who's going to be playing for Wentz for the next month and a half, went out there. He started off absolutely terrible. I think I was on Twitter and they were already calling for Sam Howell after the first 2 series. They were already saying, bring in Sam Howell. I'm like, hold on. He's only had 2 series. I got to relax. And sure enough, he woke up. And he finishes off with a stat line of 20 of 33, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have the 1 interception, and he had an 85.5 quarterback rating. Also, what saved this team were penalties. That fumble recovery, if they didn't call illegal contact, we'd be talking about a different game here, because they had that scoop and score called back because of an illegal contact penalty, which was a little questionable. I will say that, but they changed the rules, so they got to go by it. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. But Washington was very good here. They were much better on third down here. 43%, 7 of 16. Green Bay could not convert a third down to save their life. They couldn't convert a third down to save their life. They went 0 for 6. Washington had 364 yards total, including 66 rushing, 98 passing. So a much more balanced offensive attack, where they kept Green Bay down to 38 yards rushing. against two really talented backs on the Green Bay Packers side, even though their offensive line is crap right now. This was a much better victory for this Washington team, and they needed it because now they're going up against a beatable Colts team who just benched Matt Ryan and are going to start a second-year quarterback. And with a rush that we have, I'll talk about that later, but trust me, they needed this win going into this next game.
I think it's really important. But we're talking about a lot of things. They're 0 for 6 on third down. But there was a lot more third down opportunities. We kept on giving them third downs because of penalties on our side that kept them in this game a lot closer. But 0 for 6 for Aaron Rodgers never happened in his career that he hadn't converted a single third down. And some of them were not great passes by him, but like they were very catchable balls. I thought our defense played really well, but they shot themselves in the foot a lot of times in this game. But I think our defense was just there enough to, put that fear in them and, where they drop it. Cause I always say you don't have to make every play, but you just got to be close on every play just to get that in their head that, oh man, they're going to pick us off. Oh no, the guy's right on me. And, if they make just enough mistakes, you can win some of these games. And so I think our defense, even though it didn't have any sacks, they put enough pressure on him. They definitely were altering a lot of the plays, and they were able to do so without blitzing a lot, which is very frustrating, I'm sure, for Green Bay, that we could throw more people back in coverage and kind of cover up one of our weaknesses. I was kind of surprised that Green Bay went away from the run game, though, because there were times in this game that I thought the run game was starting to work against us. And then they kind of went away from it, which I'm very happy about. But Arun, can you speak to that? Do you think that Green Bay went away from the run game too early, or what were some of your thoughts on that side?
I think it's hard to go away from the run game when they didn't really use it at all that much. They only had like 12 carries for the game, and Robinson by himself had more carries than Green Bay's entire running offense. He had 20 carries. Antonio Gibson had 10. Curtis Samuel had 5 carries. It's kind of crazy that Green Bay is just abandoned the run entirely, and that's why Washington had over 360 yards of offense, and Green Bay had like barely over 200 yards of offense.
Well, also time of possession, right? Because by one team throwing all the time, the other team running all the time, we were able to, on a couple of drives, go 7 minutes on a drive. And even if we just got a field goal, it's just demoralizing, and it's giving our defense time to rest. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, basically, when the Packers, whenever they got pretty close to the red zone, they just scored touchdowns. But Washington, they dominated, I guess, like the yardage, but they had that pick six, and they just had a couple field goals, whereas the Packers scored all their touchdowns other than that last ditch play, which was funny because Aaron Rodgers was the one that screwed up the lateral, and he should probably be the most accurate guy throwing the lateral. But yeah, I don't know. Aaron Jones, I don't know why he had only 8 carries for 23 yards, and AJ Dillon, he only had 4 carries for 15 yards. It's pretty befuddling. I don't know if it's on the offensive play calling of the Packers or Aaron Rodgers is auto-pulling out of runs. And they did lose to the Jets and the Giants coming into this game. I didn't pick the Packers. I mean, I didn't pick Washington to win, but I did think it was going to be a close game. It didn't look that way after Heineke threw that pick six, but they just kept fighting. And Terry McLaurin just looked, even though he had 5 catches, he looked like so much more animated than any time he's been so far this year. And Heineke,
they have great chemistry. Heineke,
that touchdown pass Heineke threw to McLaurin was absolutely beautiful. Chef's kiss, that pass.
But also he had some great touch balls where he was going over the, people were blitzing or they were coming in on the side, and, in plays were designed run plays, but they were just trying to get a pass out and him just tiptoeing, but staying in bounds, late in the game to try to just get some yardage, but also, stay in bounds. His balance was great, being able to, because if he throws that a little bit too far, he might catch it, but it might drift him out of bounds. So to be able to throw it up high, up over it, and come down right there and give him the opportunity to tiptoe down that line, that's an important play. It's not a lot of yards, and it's not something that's talked about a lot on TV or radio, but those are the sort of small plays that you've got to connect on. He was missing on a lot of those correct reads earlier in the game, and it was fun. I actually watched his interview or his presser afterwards, and he's such a humble, great guy. I love him as a leader for this team because he really goes out there. And some of our players were saying that about him, that he goes out with this energy that it's his last game that he's ever going to play in the NFL. And that's what you want. You don't want a guy that sort of say, oh, I'm an NFL quarterback, I deserve to be here, like bow down to me and my greatness. That's when the cockiness doesn't seem to help us, especially for this team. It worked for some teams maybe, but I like that sort of mentality that that work hard, get those important first down, simple plays. And he said that he was too jazzed up. He was overthrowing it. It was, throwing the ball too hard, bouncing off play ball. But when he was able to have that adrenaline sort of settle down, he really settled into a really great game.
Yeah, and just one more thing I want to bring up is I still don't understand why they don't give Gibson the ball more. He had like 10 carries for 59 yards, but he's getting it done. And I guess he's getting better coming off that gunshot wound, but they should still give the ball to Gibson as well. And he's played pretty well the last 2 games. And I think he was also the reason they beat Chicago.
Well, can we talk about Gibson as a kick returner, though? He was looking really, really good as a kick returner. I was really surprised by how well he did as a kick returner.
Right. And not only that, but our special teams overall, being able to punt it, get it down at the 1, that it was question of who touched it and whether it was, illegal touching or whatever. But ultimately that forced them to make a running play. But if they stop them on that running play, you make it a safety there. So, I mean, you're giving yourself opportunities. And then after they get a first down at the 10-yard line, then they're just going to, basically kneel it. Right. So you basically force them, if they're on the 20-yard line, maybe they take a shot down the field, see if they can get in field goal range or whatever. That ultimately could be a big play. I was disappointed we missed the field goal. But he's got a big leg. He just got to work on his accuracy a little bit. But I do like that he kicks it out of the end zone on kickoffs and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot to. I really enjoy our special teams this year from a lot of different perspectives. And I think that you're right. I mean, he's a big part of the kick return team. But I like the change of pace backs. I think Robinson needs to commit to runs a little bit quicker. Some seams are closing up before he can hit them. And I think if he just goes with his instinct, he's going the right way. But if he hits some of these seams a little bit earlier, I feel like he could get a little bit more yardage on some of these, north-south plays. I think he hesitates a little bit and then he gets stopped. And some of the run plays that they run for him are, I would say, more traditional running plays that people can kind of sniff out a little bit, which is tough. When the defense can call run against you and they put a run defense out there. Where I felt like it was just a little bit different with how they ran it. For Gibson, I thought he was doing a little bit more out of the box runs, right? They were doing some things with end arounds and different people, including Curtis Samuel coming around and then trying to trick them, which guy's coming around going which way, try to get the line moving on defense. I like that stuff. I think I'd like to see more of that, because if you get it where they don't know which way it's going and which guy is moving in motion and who's getting the ball, it's a lot harder, even if you're calling run, to stop it. Versus a straight run up the middle. So it's interesting that they seem to be calling different running plays with different people in the back formation. Do you see that too? Or what are your thoughts on that, Arun?
Yeah, the Curtis Samuel, he had 5 carries, and I think they're also getting the backs like involved in the receiving game as well, which is mixing it up. Gibson had 3 catches, Robinson had a couple of catches. They're definitely spreading the ball around more, I feel like. With Heineke in there, like Armani Rogers, I don't really remember hearing that much about him the past couple of weeks. He had 3 catches. Cam Sims had a catch. I think there were like 10 different receivers that had caught a ball or had a target thrown to them too. J.D. McKissick and Cole Turner didn't catch anything, but at least Heineke was trying to get them involved by passing 4 targets to those guys. And I think it's leads to just a better team if you try to spread the ball around and they don't even have Dotson back yet, and when he comes back, this team could become even more explosive. The line still looks a little bit shaky, so you do need to mix it up with those trick running plays. I think they didn't really do that as much against the Bears, or maybe they just couldn't get as many plays going because Wentz only threw for 99 yards, as Champ mentioned. So, yeah, Heineke definitely looks a lot better so far, especially if he's healthy. Let's see if he can get it going against the Colts.
Right. To answer your question, Armani Rogers, who's our tight end, had 4 receptions on the season. 3 of them happened in this most recent game against Green Bay for an average of 9.3 and 28 total yards in that game. He did get 1 reception in the Jacksonville game for 23 yards. And I remember that play, and I was like, oh man, we're going to see a lot of this guy. And then we haven't seen anything of this guy for 5 games in a row. So and he played in all of them. They just didn't really utilize him. And so I'm a big fan of the tight end position. We talked about the tight end position a lot on this show with Carroll and Dugenais. And I think that we need to bring that back. I think that in some of our best years, the tight end was a big threat, right? And we just kind of moved away from that. So it'll be interesting to see, especially because if they could block. I mean, this guy is a pretty decent sized guy. He's 6'5", I want to say. And pretty decently sized. What was he? He was listed at 225, so not huge, but that's not bad for a tight end. 6'5". I mean, it's got a big wingspan. Could definitely make some plays for us in both the blocking and the catching game. Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this Green Bay game?
That final play in that game to close out the game had my blood pressure elevated. I got so scared because I was like, wait, they could probably take this back and win this. But then Rodgers threw it between his receiver's legs and threw it out of bounds. And I had the biggest relief rush out of me after that because I was like, I honestly thought Rodgers was going to go for his patented Hail Mary, which he seems to pull out more than any other individual quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL. Like, he seems like he throws that ball up and somehow his receivers catch it. So I thought he was going with that, but they decided to do the little University of California play and it didn't work out. So that's how it told me. I said, okay, I think Aaron Rodgers might be done because they didn't even have faith in him to go for his Hail Mary and try to at least win it that way. They tried to go with a little trickeration and it didn't work. But my final thoughts on that is that you went up against a team who was struggling against a perennial Hall of Famer, and you were able to, even though you didn't sack him, you still were able to beat him. And that's the bottom line. You beat one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL in your home stadium with majority of the crowd being Packers fans. Like, there was a louder "Go Pack Go" chant than there was a "Sell the Team" chant. So that should tell you something. But yeah, this was a good win. That's all I have to say about it. This is a good win. I'm happy about this win. Much more happy than I was in Chicago win.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carly. It's a 1-yard touchdown run for the Bears. They're up 32-14 with an extra point coming. 8 plays, 39 yards, 4:48 off the clock, 12:13 left in the fourth quarter. It's now, extra point coming, but probably going to be 33-14. So it's going to be a 3 touchdown game. So it's going to be a rough one for the Patriots here. Which kind of gives me hope that beating the Bears wasn't as insignificant as some people want to play it off as. But Arun, why didn't they throw an out route pass or something to make it like a Hail Mary like we're talking about with Champ, where he's usually so much better? Does that play ever work where they just throw it around? I mean, I find that too often somebody throws it forward and it's just over anyway. Does that play ever work in pros? I know it has worked in college in the past, but
yeah, it was actually kind of working pretty well for a while for the Packers. I think if Aaron Rodgers actually threw that pass, I don't think they would have necessarily scored, but I think one or two more passes they could have done, and it has worked. I think the most famous one was that Titans-Bills game, the miracle of the Titans play. And I remember one game, I think it was like Saints. I forget who they were playing. They converted the incredible play to make it. They were down the touchdown. They scored the touchdown on this incredible play, but then they missed the extra point, which was incredible. And that's the time when the extra point wasn't moved back to 40 yards. And that was pretty funny. And they ended up missing the playoffs.
Didn't Miami do the whole like multiple laterals and score to win a game like a couple of years ago?
Yeah, against the Patriots. Yeah, that was another time that happened. And the Patriots ended up not getting home field advantage. They were knocked out in the first week of the playoffs. So that it just happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say because they there's a commercial for that now that they play during NFL games for that moment.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me because I still think Aaron Rodgers has had that Hail Mary like work for him so much. I would put myself in a position, short out, get yourself in a little better spot, throw a last second Hail Mary and take a chance, especially against our defense. I mean, we're not world beaters, especially, it's a jump ball, 50-50 shot. I don't know. I just think that's like a 50.
Let Devontae Adams go. That was probably, I think they would have thrown that Hail Mary if they actually re-signed Devontae Adams, but the receivers are they had a lot of drop passes anyways. And this game, that's part of the reason why Aaron Rodgers.
Now you're relying on people to lateral and not drop it and screw it. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that that's the better play there, but I'll take it. I don't really, whatever.
I don't think it was going to work either for the Hail Mary, like as well as Aaron Rodgers.
I've seen that stuff so many times against our team though. Like I wouldn't be shocked if it had worked.
Also, when they threw a flag on that play, I thought like, they're gonna call a penalty on Washington, and then they're gonna have one more play.
Yeah, and get one on-time play. That's what I was fearful of too. So yeah, I almost think that they should have just done a kneel Hail Mary down to the 20 and try to draw a pass interference.
Well, then they would have not enough time to do that because there was like they'd have to do like a 5-yard play and then a Hail Mary because there were only 5 seconds left. That's why they did that stupid play, but I guess they could have done a Hail Mary instead of like a 20. They couldn't do like a 20-yard play. There wasn't enough time for that, I think, at that situation because they mismanaged the clock, I believe, and they got this 20-yard play, but they ran a play down the middle of the field, which is pretty dumb, I think, by their part. The previous play was a bad play by them.
Yeah, I just realized I've had the Capitals logo on my Twitch feed this entire time. I never once remember to switch it. I am so terrible at that. But anyway, it has been football talk if anyone's been not knowing what's going on. Yeah. All right. Well, let's just very quickly. I think Tim's joining us, but while we wait for him, and if not, we can always break down the Wizards with just the three of us. Upcoming game against the Indianapolis Colts. They lost at Tennessee last week, 19-10. They beat Jacksonville the week before, 34-27, and beat Denver on a terrible Thursday night football game, 12-9. The week before that, they've also lost to Tennessee and Jacksonville earlier. They tied Houston in the first game of the season, but they did beat Kansas City 20-17. So they're a very up and down team. This Colts team. I'll let Arun give it the first crack at it, and then I want to get Champ's take on that. But what are your thoughts on going to Indianapolis?
This is a very winnable game. I don't know if I'm picking Washington necessarily, but the Colts, even though they've had a couple of pretty good wins, they've also been playing pretty badly at times. Like they've only scored 10 points against the Titans, and I don't know how good this new quarterback Ellinger is, his second-year quarterback. Matt Ryan actually won them a game like a couple of weeks ago, and he actually kind of plays well against Washington. But it's interesting. They actually just got rid of Wentz, and now they traded for Matt Ryan just this offseason, and they're benching him. And I think it's not a good sign for Matt Ryan, but maybe this quarterback for the Colts, the new one's pretty good. But I think Washington, I think they could win this game if Heineke plays as well as he did in the second half. He can't throw a pick six like he did, especially on the road. But I don't think the Colts are that formidable right now as it stands.
Yeah, Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this Colts matchup?
All right. So the Colts just benched Matt Ryan, and they're going with a second-year quarterback who hasn't thrown a meaningful pass in an NFL game in his career. and he's going up against one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. I'm in. I'm all in. I believe that this Washington defense is going to absolutely eat this Colts offense alive. That quarterback has very little chance against this team. Well, I won't say very little, because this new quarterback is very mobile. I read up on him. He's very mobile, so they're going to have to be very disciplined in their assignments in order to keep him in the pocket and keep him from moving out and running around and stuff like that. Our secondary is still not as strong as it should be. So as long as they can keep this kid in disruption, keep him in the pocket, knock him down a few times, sack him a few times, I think they will be just fine. Taylor Heineke started off slow because of the rust, but he came on strong. I think that he'll start to get more timing and more rhythm with his wide receivers, most notably Terry and especially Samuel. Hopefully we get Jahad Dotson back. Hopefully we get Thomas back. If we get Dotson and Thomas back, along with Samuel and with McLaurin, the offense passing wise will be very, very solid. And then they can establish the run with our dynamic double backfield of Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. This is going to be a game they will win. I am putting it on wax right now. They will beat the Colts. Period.
Like that confidence. I can't hear Robbie.
Robbie's muted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So I wanted to thank Eric for joining us on Facebook Live chat. He thought that Heineke was important towards our momentum, that he did have Russ early. He think Ryan's in a bum. It wouldn't be his concern anyway. And Scott was smart enough to revert to Heineke's familiar game plan, keep it away on the offense. And he thought that the same O-line a couple weeks in a row was very helpful, and hopefully that continues. And he said the tight ends have been on an injury carousel, and that's true. We haven't had a game where we dressed 3 healthy tight ends, and they've stayed healthy through the whole game. It's been one of our knocks. And he said he also likes the Miami Miracle. So I appreciate you for tuning in, Eric, and joining us. But yeah, it's I never got a chance to share that, I guess, with all of the Facebook groups, but I'll share it after the fact if people want to check out our great coverage on that. But I'm excited for next week. Hopefully we find a way to beat the Colts, and it'll make for an exciting podcast next week. I don't know, Arun and Champ, are you guys busy for Halloween, or do you think you guys will do a later night show with me?
I'm definitely not doing anything for Halloween because it's on a Monday, so I'll be working, and I'm pretty sure that my partner will do some trick or treating with Junior and stuff like that. So I'll be definitely here. It'll be a late night show. My sleep schedule's gonna be messed up, but hey, gotta do what you gotta do to get the sports content out there. DC Sports without the politics. It's not just like CB3 says. It's not just a catchphrase. It's what we do.
Yeah, it's for sure. No, I appreciate that. And Arun, do you have any Halloween plans, or do you think you're going to join us next week?
I'll probably join you guys. Probably do my Halloween celebrating on the weekend.
Makes sense. Yeah. So I'll do the Halloween celebration early. We'll come and we'll do a Capitals post game. We'll probably swap it up. I'll probably give Dugenais the week off. And then we're going to have Casey, who's a big time Wizards fan and Capitals fan, come on to do both of those segments. And then he can join in. We'll talk Wizards first, and then we'll end with the Colts game. So kind of back to last year's fall schedule. Just for a week, just to switch it up a little bit, since we want to have Dugenais on. And we'll get to have another person join us for Wizards talk, which will be fun. And that's going to be my segue to switch topics here. I think we've talked Commanders now for 50.